renewable projects involved and the SMR project that all the proponents who have been working with us in that have proven to deliver on their projects. We expect that towards the end of the decade we should be able to produce. All indications are that we're moving in that direction. With the investments we've made, with the commitments they've fulfilled, we have no reason to doubt that. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
My apologies to the Minister through the Chair. I thought that he had said no when it came to solar, so thank you for clarifying that and mentioning that other project. I wanted to, I guess it's still in terms of the timeline, it does concern me with the SMRs because we are we are in a timeline with climate change, and I know the Minister is aware of that. I also want to ask about electric vehicles. So we're seeing, and once again I'm referring to some of our maritime neighbours, some of the plans they have. For example, in Nova Scotia, rebates of $3,000 per new vehicle and $2,000 for used vehicles, and I think it's important to include used in this, and $500 for e-bikes. Plus there's the federal rebate, and then in PEI we're seeing they want to have all vehicles be electric, and they're looking at rebates as well. And so I'm wondering what is in the budget in terms of electric vehicle incentives? Thank you.
Mr. Chair, to the member opposite, we currently have 730 electric vehicles on the roads in New Brunswick right now. We're looking forward to exploring that more, and I think that my colleague from the Department of Environment would have affirmed that we are looking at all options as it relates to doing it in a way that is smart, reflective of the taxpayer of New Brunswick, and with an eye towards reducing emissions. So as that moves forward, we will have more to report. Thank you.
Thank you for the response, through you, Mr. Chair. I think that I know many of my constituents, I think, just feel a bit impatient. People are excited about the idea of being able to get an electric vehicle because there are many people who do need to drive, especially in rural areas. But we obviously need to be looking at our public transit systems as well, as that's really important when it comes to energy and emissions. I want to ask about energy efficiency. And so I was mentioning some of the programs being looked at in other provinces. I know that there are some programs that exist, but there are wait lists. And I think a lot more could be done in terms of energy efficiency in our province. And so I wanted to, I guess I'll highlight in Nova Scotia, there's $6.7 million over 3 years going to affordable multi-family housing programs with incentives for energy efficiency upgrades, for example. And looking at small business and not-for-profit energy solutions programs, so energy efficiency upgrades, because it's not just the residences that we live in, although that's very important, and I think that there could be a lot of help, especially for seniors, but there's opportunities for other buildings as well. So could the Minister speak to what's in the budget around energy efficiency for buildings?
NB Power receives $2 million per year for low-income energy savings programs and spends that budget every year. This $2 million allows NB Power to retrofit approximately 350 homes per year. With the further $1 million just received from the Climate Fund, we've been able to retrofit a further 163 homes. And with this accelerated climate funding for one more year, we will be through that waiting list in 2021, 2022. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Through you, Mr. Chair, thank you to the Minister. I'm glad that the wait list is being chipped away at. That's extremely important. I think that there's an opportunity to expand beyond, especially if that wait list gets addressed, to expand beyond that and to look at what could be done for small businesses and nonprofits. And so I would argue that hopefully the budget could be increased for what is being done there. I want to ask about, I'm going to shift a bit here. Actually, before I shift, I have one more question on this. So around, I guess, looking at the Climate Change Action Plan, which I know the Minister is familiar, which are the action plan items that the Minister's Department is looking to complete this year to contribute towards the 75% that are going to be completed in this calendar year? Thank you.
Mr. Chair, to the member opposite, there are 14 of those items currently designated under the umbrella of Department of Natural Resources and Energy Development. We are currently working with the Department of Environment to triage accordingly and determine which ones are funded through the Climate Action Fund that will get the best results and the highest percentage of energy efficiency. Thank you.
Through you, Mr. Chair, thank you to the Minister for the answer. I'm curious, is there an anticipated timeline for the decision around which items are going to be chosen? Thank you.
Mr. Chair, to the member opposite, that board is housed within the Department of Environment, but from what I understand, replies and responses to that will be coming in the very near future. Some of the projects will be dealt with within this fiscal year. Others will have a life that extends beyond that, but that information will be coming forward shortly. Thank you.
Thank you to the Minister through the Chair. I look forward to hearing more about that when the decisions have been made. I guess presumably they'll need to be made soon because we're getting into the calendar year, and I know that's the timeline that the Minister for Environment and Climate Change has given by the end of this year. So now I do want to shift and ask some questions around forestry. So I guess my first question is to ask, how much money is in this budget towards glyphosate spraying this year?
We haven't finalized the map yet to the member officer through the chair, but we are targeting $2.5 million.
Thank you. And I'm wondering how much money is going towards silviculture in this budget?
For Crown, to the member opposite of the chair, $19.2 million.
Thank you to the Minister through the chair. And I'm wondering if this includes any private woodlot silviculture program as well as Crown management, or if you could explain if there's any division within that number.
Mr. Chair, to the member opposite, above and beyond the $19.2, $5 million is allocated for the private woodlot sector.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Chair. And I guess in addition to that 5 million, I know that the minister did touch on some of the work being done to support private woodlot owners, but I want to ask the complete question of what is in the budget for private woodlot owners. Thank you.
To the member opposite to the chair, as explained earlier, we've got the full efforts of 3 full-time staff working in conjunction with the Forest Products Commission, the private woodlot boards, a variety of additional staff, providing them with data and information to help them put together the complete and holistic wood basket of what's available on private. It's not a line item in the budget, but it's a significant amount of effort, and if you extrapolate the staff time hours, it's quite a significant investment in ensuring we get to where we need to be on that file.
Through Mr. Chair, thank you to the minister for that response. I'm wondering if the minister can explain, there's some increases and decreases in the budget that stood out to me, and I wanted to ask, it looks like, if I've crunched the numbers correctly, there's about a 49% increase in the forest protection line item. Could the minister tell us what that's attributed to?
Mr. Chair, to the member opposite, as from the question answered from the member from the People's Alliance, that is an investment in ensuring that we protect our forests from spruce budworm.
And to be clear, is the complete increase is attributed to the spruce budworm initiative?
Mr. Chair, to the member opposite, absolutely yes.
Thank you to the minister through the chair. And in terms of the crowned land management decrease, could the minister speak to that budget change?
That related budget item to the member opposite to the chair is a decrease of $628,000. It's mainly due to a transfer to the Department of Agriculture, Aquaculture and Fisheries of Aquaculture Leasing and Licensing Branch and the Farmland Identification Branch, the FLIP program. The transfer to DAF included 11 positions.
Thank you to the minister through the chair for the response. I do want to pursue a topic that has come up. As many of these topics, they come up in each line of questioning, and just ask around royalties for crown lands. And so, as has been stated today, the cost of timber has gone up a lot this year. We've seen a triple in price for some types of items. And I guess the starting question is just, what is the corresponding increase in any crown land royalties for this year?
Chair to the member opposite, there is none. They remain the same as last year.
And I guess I'd like to ask, how many years in a row has that remained the same?
Mr. Chair, to the member opposite, the rates of stumpage on the on-crown lands have remained the same since 2015. And
could the minister confirm, is the amount of revenue from crown lands $65 million? To
the member opposite to the chair, projected to be yes, potentially will shake down to be greater than that by the time everything is done.
Would the minister be able to indicate how much greater, if it's still in the ballpark of 65 million? I guess I'm trying to establish, is it going to be increasing, and to find out when was the last time it did increase.
We are conservative in our estimates with budgetary relation to the crown timber royalties. We have 65 there, but we anticipate it to come in consistently as it has been over the last few years at 75.
Through you, Mr. Chair, Thank you to the Minister for elaborating on that. And I'm wondering if the Minister can let us know, is that a net profit, or would we need to deduct some other expenditures such as glyphosate, spraying, silviculture programs from that 75 million?
The member opposite, that is a gross amount.
Okay, thank you to the Minister through the chair. I know that there were some questions around this issue earlier, but I want to just make sure I ask them and get some clarification. I'm wondering if the Minister can tell us how much First Nation timber royalties are this year.
The member opposite to the chair, the budgeted amount is 2.8 million and have been coming in around 4 typically.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Chair. And if the Minister would indulge me and please explain, how are those royalties calculated?
To the member opposite to the chair, it's a 5% royalty on everything collected through royalties. 5%. Mr. Chair, to the member opposite, they get 5% of the allocation according to royalties charged.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you to the Minister, through you, Mr. Chair. And how many years has it been projected to be at 2.8 million? Is that consistent?
To the member opposite to the chair, since 2015.
And I wonder, based on the cost of lumber changing, I might know the answer to this, but would the province be planning on increasing the amount of money collected from timber royalties?
To the member opposite, as indicated earlier, the approach that we have taken to timber royalties and a stable, steady approach has ensured that the province receives the maximum level of income based on comparables with other jurisdictions, as well as prevents us from competing with private woodlot owners in the event that following commodity prices dropped us to the point where Crown land stumpage was lower to the point where it was a competitive factor.
Thank you to the Minister, through the chair. I'm wondering, do First Nations receive a share of the revenue of any other activity that takes place on Crown lands? For example, leases for blueberries or mining, or a share of revenue for hunting or fishing licenses? Thank you.
To the member opposite to the chair, the answer is no.
Through you, Mr. Chair, thank you to the Minister. And I guess I wonder, since these activities are taking place on Crown land, should they not receive a share of this revenue?
To the member opposite to the chair, the conversation going forward will include subject matter of that nature.
Through the chair to the Minister, I'm going to jump back to energy a little bit. And I had been asking some questions around energy efficiency, around renewable energy, electric vehicles, but connected to some of the